Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Ginetta eSeries of 2025, and welcome back to Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing. Apologies for the slight speed bump we had at the beginning of this evening. Myself, Jack Worrell, running you through all of the action here at Oulton Park. Tom O'Farrell working away on the buttons as our broadcast director, as always. Of course, our series organiser, Mick Sutton, in conjunction with Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing. And I'm hoping we don't get to see him this evening, albeit he's had outings over the previous couple of rounds. Our race director and safety car driver, Peter Cornelius, joins us in the pit lane this evening. Where have we been? Where are we going? And where are we tonight? We kicked off the season at Donington Park on the GP circuit. We then went to Croft last week on the 11th of September. We went to, or currently here at Oulton Park this evening, before we go to Zandvoort in a week's time on the 25th of September, then to Brands Hatch to round out the season on the 2nd of October. Opportunities to be had at those final two rounds if you identify value in your business, in your team, or as an individual if you are if you have a sort of a profile on social media you are wanting to grow. We can provide that opportunity for the final two rounds. There is a simple, affordable way to support the series, but also put your brand in front of a passionate, growing sim racing audience. If you want your logo to be in the top right hand corner of our streams throughout all qualifying and race sessions, to be seen multiple times during every broadcast and replay, it will remain on YouTube forever, and we will mention it throughout the evenings as well. Please do get in touch. £40, that's all it is, to sponsor the series for the final two rounds. Joining us this evening as a sponsor is Road Tax Martin. So you'll see his logo running through the top right hand corner this evening. We had Perk Up Coffee join us last week, who are working away at the Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing HQ and developing a really strong relationship there. But if you identify value as brand awareness, as we say, please do get in touch. In terms of what the drivers are fighting for this season, let's have a very brief look at the prizes. If you win the scholarship class, you don't just win the scholarship class here, you get the opportunity to kickstart what could be a brilliant racing career at the Ginetta Scholarship, held just next month by Ginetta themselves. If you win the all-comers class, you work your way to the Ginetta factory to get a full tour and see all of the cars and all of the goings-on behind the scenes that might not be in the common public eye, all at the factory, before you then get behind the wheel of Ginetta's sim track simulator at their HQ as well. How close are drivers to getting their hands on those prizes? Let's have a quick look at the championship standings. So as we look at the top of the screen, the scholarship class being led by Gabriel Norse, 40 points clear of Riley Pogue, who's only a point back from William Johnson, or a point ahead of William Johnson, pardon me, 4 points ahead of Luke Armstrong is William Johnson himself, and then it's Luca Erdos, some 26 points off the back there. As we look at the all-comers class, Charlie Devlin leads on 124 points, Albert Henriksen Bell just 6 points adrift. And the all-comers class, tight and twisty all the way down. You can see drivers, Nicky Taylor, who isn't with us anymore throughout this season, John T. Restrick and Finley Lyons, all separated by a few points. Jacob Ellis and Sean Duffy sharing 7th place in the standings, both on 58 points. Let's have a quick look to see how qualifying is shaping up. It's been working its way away in the background. Gabriel Norse tops the times on a 2-minute 1.763. William Johnson almost 4 tenths back from there. Luke Armstrong in the pit lane, hopefully to return to the circuit any moment now. Currently in provisional P3, almost 9 tenths away, and then Riley Pogue a second back from there. A further 10th back is Finley Lyons. Jacob Ellis a further 4 tenths back. And of course, as we mentioned last week, and we will mention on the run up to Brands Hatch, we have the Cup class effectively taking part this evening. So you can still take part in your respective class, whether that be scholarship or all-comers. What you have another opportunity to score points in what is, in inverted commas, the Cup class. So Finley Lyons, Jacob Ellis, Lucas Jadderton, Harry Ellis and Scott O'Connor are all in the Cup this evening. So they can score points in their respective class and still try and close in on the championship. More importantly, they will be scoring Cup points as well. The same format will take place at Brands Hatch. So if you are wanting to take part in that Cup format, and if you're already in the Ginetta eSeries of 2025, it would be great to see more names fighting over Cup points as well. And I'm sure we can find space on the grid for you if you've not taken part in those first couple of rounds as well. Charlie Devlin has gone to the top of the times now, a 2-minute 1.488, just over a quarter of a second to clear of Gabriel Norse. Gabriel Norse seeing his way through Lodge Corner now. We've got a car off on driver's right. over the crest. D-Elite goes Gabriel Norse. Can he go back to the top? Let's see. It was a good sector 1, a good sector 2. Goes through, breaks the beat. He's looking for a 2-minute 1.9 at best. Finds a 2-minute 1.6. So let me just update the timing screen on my side. Finds a 2-minute 1.6. He was looking for a 2-minute 1.4. Apologies. So Gabriel Norse closes in, not quite as much as he would have liked. Big lock up for Jonty Restrick as he goes in to the Shell Oils hairpin. It will then be the run towards the Britain chicane. Quick left, quick right, before you're as early on the throttle as possible to head towards Hilltop. You'll see on the timing tower, we've got some drivers with a black number board, some drivers with an orange number board. That's to indicate the classes in which they are in. If they've got an orange background, that means they are in the scholarship class and fighting over that opportunity to take part in the 2025 Ginetta Junior Scholarship. And if you're looking at their cars, they will have a Dayglow yellow sunstrip and also a purple rear number plate. If they're in the all-comers class, they've got the black background to their number. They don't have the Dayglow yellow sunstrip, and they will have a black registration plate as well. Gabriel Norse picks his way through his lops. Charlie Devlin opts for the pit lane. No improvement on that time. The checkered flag is out, so it's going to be provisional pole at the moment, but we'll see whether Gabriel Norse can improve over these final couple of corners. Finley lines through Lodge Corner, then towards D-Elite. Not looking too great through sector 1 or too great through sector 2. He knows that. He opts straight for the pit lane as well. A couple more cars coming through. Jacob Ellis with a rather fetching livery indeed comes through and secures second place for now. Whereabouts is Jacob Armour? He's just working his way underneath the Warwick Bridge and in towards Lodge Corner. Jake Critchley jumps out of the way. A flash of the lights from that of Gabriel Norse, so he is potentially on for an improvement here. A good sector 1 and okay sector 2. How close can he get? 2 tenths to find. It's a 2-minute 1.644. Again with the fastest third sector. He did that on the previous lap. He's done it again on this lap, but he has to settle for that 10.5 deficit between himself and Charlie Devlin. Harry Ellis comes through the final corner over D-Elite and then towards the checkered flag to bring an end to his qualifying session. Goes through, breaks the beam. Doesn't improve, unfortunately, on that occasion. As we had last week, we're not talking to those drivers that are necessarily on pole position. We're talking to those drivers that we really want to talk to and have scored good points over the previous couple of rounds. This evening, we will be talking to... Let's have a quick look. Who will we be chatting to this evening as we look through the order? It will be Will Johnson and Jonty Restrick. Will Johnson jumped in first. We'll have a quick word with Will. Will, third overall, second in class in qualifying. Not a bad way to kick off your evening at Oulton Park.
Pretty good, yeah. Not too far off. Much better than the first race we did. Yeah.
In terms of Oulton Park, obviously it's a fairly unique circuit in comparison to where we've been. Donington Park is very wide and it's got the undulation, but Oulton Park's a little bit skinnier, not quite so much runoff in places, lots of undulation change. And even the straights, you find yourself going up over a crest and then back down into the tricky braking zone, down into his lops as well. So it's quite a tricky technical circuit. How do you approach that? Do you just focus on keeping it clean and consistent, or do you find maybe pushing harder is the way to get the pace out of the car, because others might be taking that slightly conservative approach?
I don't know. Probably go pretty conservative, try and put pressure on the driver ahead. I'll probably make a mistake on such a tricky track, and lots of overtaking points with the big braking zones.
And obviously coming into this evening, you're only a point off the back of Riley Pogue in the scholarship class. What would it mean to you to get your hands on an opportunity to take part in the 2025 Ginetta Junior Scholarship?
That'd be amazing. I don't know. Not sure if I can get it. Cable was a bit far, but we do also have like 3 rounds left, don't we?
Yeah, we've got 6 races still to go if you count the ones this evening. So plenty of points still up for grabs. But I wish you the best of luck for this evening, Mr. Johnson, and congrats for qualifying.
Thank you. Bye.
So good to chat to Will Johnson. Jonty Restrick joins us in the commentary box as well. Jonty, you'll be lining up in 8th place on the grid, so it's a fairly mid-pack position, but do you find a bit of safety in that? Because there's cars behind and cars in front, so you're somewhat in the middle, which can be dangerous, but it means those cars up the road, if one makes a mistake, chances are another couple will follow, and you can find yourself picking up some places.
Yes, it's a bit... It's quite difficult starting in mid because you've got people behind and in front, as you said, but it's also good when there's like incidents ahead, you get to pick up a good few places.
And in terms of your insight on not only tonight, but taking into account the previous couple of races, what is the game plan here? Is it a case of getting a solid finish in race 1 to give yourself a good starting position for race 2? Or is it just take it nice and easy in race 1 and then start to push that little bit more in race 2?
I think pushing at the start and then seeing how the rest pans out, because that like almost gives you that little bit more at the start, and then but then also in race 2 I push a bit more because there's like, if you score well in the first race you can afford to lose a bit more.
Absolutely, and it's nice to see you out on circuit as well. You're in the all-comers class, which might be a bit of sort of smoke and mirrors, but the reason why you're not in the scholarship class is, born in August of 2012, you're 5 months too young for the scholarship class, but you've got some great pace already, so I've got a feeling you're going to be a star of the future, Jonty.
Thank you.
Well, congrats for qualifying and best of luck for the evening.
Thank you.
So a quick word with Jonty Restrick, and that's amazing, isn't it? Not in the scholarship class, simply because there are age requirements, and the consensus is too old for the class. No, Jonty's too young, but has some brilliant pace behind him already. And coming out of this evening, a good couple of points finishes could put him not only further into the top 5, but potentially into the top 3 in the all-comers class as well, because Nathan Williams doesn't join us this evening, as he's got other commitments. I'll see Nathan this weekend at Snetterton as he gets behind the wheel of a legend as he has before. As we mentioned, we've got the new cup format in place this evening for the first time this season. So you can sign up as usual to either the scholarship or the all-comers class. So you can still score points in those classes. Obviously, Oulton Park this evening, we'll have the same format for Brands Hatch, and they act as somewhat individual championships. So as long as you've entered individually for that round, you're in the cup. That's how it works. But you still score points in the main championship. So it's a brilliant opportunity for a bit of a taster. If you don't want to commit to a full season as of yet, get in for that final round at Brands Hatch. There's going to be some brilliant racing as always, and what a way to get behind the wheel of one of these Ginetta juniors, get yourself on the broadcast and show what you're made of. It will be really important indeed. Obviously, we mentioned the opportunities to sponsor not only this series, but there will be further opportunities coming up with Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing. If you want that brand awareness and that eyes on brand effect, that's how you identify value. We would love to have you come over, have the conversation with us, and we'll see what we can do. So we've got 2 minutes till the race starts. Speaking of sponsors, let's hear from them. Welcome back, everybody, and welcome to the grid of Oulton Park for the first race of the evening. Here, the Ginetta eSeries of 2025 works its way to Cheshire, round number 3 of 5. And there's still points to be scored, championships to be decided, and you can guarantee those positions won't remain stagnant, not only this evening or at Zandvoort. Everything somehow has to be settled at Brands Hatch. Charlie Devlin lines up on pole position. He is on the inside. It's a staggered grid, so Gabriel Norse will be hoping for a good start to come over and cover off the likes of Will Johnson and the usually fast-starting Luke Armstrong as well. So 6 at red lights. Who gets the best start from the front row? We'll keep an eye on what's going on in the background. It's a fairly even start for our front 2. an even start, but both evenly as good. Side by side in the background as Will Johnson comes under big pressure around the outside from Luke Armstrong. Luke looks for the wider line. He's got to be careful not to wander over track limits. Has to make a slight correction for some oversteer mid-corner. There's contact as we go through turn 1. And there are, 2 or 3 cars off in the background. We'll try and pick our way through that order. But for Charlie Devlin, he continues to lead the way with Gabriel North still in tow. Luke Armstrong did manage to work his way through and past Will Johnson. So too did Riley Pogue, who's now coming under huge pressure from Finley Lines as the field fans out on the run towards Lakeside for the first time. They pick their way through the very quick left-hander before one of the hardest braking zones on the circuit through the Shell Oils hairpin. Got to keep as much momentum as possible. Finley Lines trying to go all the way around the outside of William Johnson. It's not going to work on that occasion. In towards the Britain chicane, Charlie Devlin continues to lead the way, and those top 2 have already started to build quite a nice margin. Gabriel Norse, he's got those, that's 2025 Ginetta Junior Scholarship on his mind, hasn't he? He's really pushing on and driving like he wants those points. Definitely somebody to keep an eye on. A lock-up for Scott O'Connor. Scotty O'Connor goes deep into the corner. Lucas Chatterton runs wide on the exit of the Britain chicane as the drivers go up through the gears once more over Hilltop before back into another heavy braking zone in towards the Hislop chicane before exiting the chicane into Knickerbrook up Clay Hill, but a couple of cars having to go straight on as some simply not able to get the car slowed down. There's a bit of a traffic jam in the chicane. I think one car went to retire and the other's not quite realised. So Scotty O'Connor finds himself sat there trying to work his way through the chicane. Not quite what we expected from the first lap of the race. Riley Pogue now loses out to Finley Lines further up the order. If that was done through Druids, that was very brave. We saw Finley Lines was confident around the outside, heading in towards the Shallow Hills hairpin. He now manages to get the move done, and Riley Pogue now under pressure from Jacob Ellis in the background. So Riley Pogue, after a good start and picking up a place, he's now starting to lose them. But Finley Lines, what a cracking start to his evening. He is, of course, taking part in the new Cup format for this evening and is the highest position driver so far. Riding on board with Jake Critchley, trying to hold on to the outside around Callum Williams. And he do it, no, tucks back in to the slipstream. Along the avenue they go. Another flash of the light from Jake Critchley. Just trying to unsettle Callum Williams, it would seem, on the run in towards the very, very quick left-hander at Cascades. Along Lakeside and towards Island Bend. Jake Critchley desperate to fill the mirrors, looks to the inside. But be very brave to try and find a move through Island Bend. It's almost flat, but getting a bit of push understeer, it would seem. Riley Pogue still dealing with the pressure from Finley Lines. Have those two swapped around again? Yes, they have. So Finley Lines losing out on this occasion. Gabriel North still in a hot pursuit of Charlie Devlin. Over Hilltop, back in towards the Hislop chicane. Again, a hot spot for overtaking opportunities. Just so heavy on the brakes, bouncing over the curbs. Tyre bells are removed for somewhat adequate reasons. Ends through the quick right-hander at Knickerbrook. Up Clay Hill they will go. And towards Watertown, a couple of cars with the lights to blaze. Jacob Armour picks up a 5-second time penalty for cutting the circuit. He's got his lights ablaze. Another car opting for the escape road. That's Leon Olakoju. He was there earlier on. I think he's had to for the same fate on this occasion. Big moment up the road, and unfortunately, it would seem Sean Duffy just got caught out on throttle, bounced his way over the curb, but collected the moments up nicely and has rejoined the circuit. Manages to get the car back up to somewhat of a racing speed by the time they arrive at Watertower. In towards Druids, he's going to have to keep an eye on Lucas Chatterton in his rearview mirror. Luke Armstrong now applying the pressure onto Will Johnson. This isn't only for the final step on the overall podium, it's to go a step higher on the scholarship podium. So just lifting off nice and early for Luke Armstrong. Is he working with Will Johnson here? Is he trying to build that gap, keeping it within the confines of the track limits? But deciding on this occasion, Luke Armstrong isn't going to go for it, and he's left himself a bit of breathing room here. So I think he's trying to indicate to Will Johnson he doesn't want to go for the move. He wants to either try and close in on Gabriel North, who is in danger of running away with the scholarship championship lead, or do they just want to work away from Riley Pogue and then have their own little scrap in the meantime, because that would keep them both on the scholarship class podium but take that risk factor away. Charlie Devlin still out front leading, building a bit of a margin between himself and Gabriel North for now. into the pit lane and remaining there, unfortunately, is Dominic Jones. So I don't think we'll see any further part of Dominic Jones in this race. Britain's catching a couple of drivers out, kicking up the grass as they make use of every inch of available circuit. Lucas Chatterton finds himself off the road at the Shell Oils hairpin. That looks like either a lock-up or just simply too deep on the brakes. Jacob Armour manages to recover a position in doing so. So up into 14th place for Jacob Armour now. Finlay Lines, having been in front of Riley Pogue a few laps ago, has not only lost out to Riley Pogue, he's now lost out to that of Jacob Ellis as well. So Jacob's on the charge, currently sat second in the all-comers class. Finlay Lines now down into third. So Finlay very quick starting, but has hit something of a wall in terms of his rhythm, not able to find that flow state as early as I'm sure he would like. You can see just how on edge the Ginetta Junior is through Druids. The tyres desperately trying to provide the grip that the drivers are begging for. On the brakes in towards Lodge Corner, they will go. You can see just how undulating that section is on the exit of the Warwick Bridge and in towards Lodge. Towards the Elite once more goes this little battle. That's for 6th and 7th respectively, as we say the final two stops, or the final two steps on the all-comers podium. Over the start-finish line, we've seen the field once more. Charlie Devlin posts the fastest lap of the race, a 2-minute 1.284. So still pushing on is Charlie Devlin. He's brought the lead margin out to the best part of 1 full second. Through Cascades, Jacob Armour has been disqualified, unfortunately, so I don't think we'll see any further part of Jacob Armour in this race. He's continued over the start-finish line, so hopefully he can at least get that car to either a position of safety or pulled back into the pit lane. Jacob Ellis, however, in towards the Shell Oils hairpin. You can see where cars have gone straight on, one of which was Lucas Chatterton just a lap ago. You can see the tyre marks where drivers have blocked fronts, but also tyre marks through the gravel where they've tried to dig themselves back out once more. In towards the Britain chicane they will go, bouncing over the curbs, nibbling at the apex markers, and then towards the Hislop chicane once more. 12.5 minutes of this race to go. Bouncing over the curbs once more. Let's ride on board with Finlay Lines if we can, just to see exactly what he sees over the next lap or so. Through the gearbox into 4th, up Clay Hill, underneath the bridge, the pedestrian bridge, along Watertown. Again, you can see it's so undulating, the car bouncing around through Druids. How does he approach it? Does he go down a gear or does he flick the car in? Down into 4th, avoids the curb on the inside initially so he doesn't wash out, nibbles at the curb at the second part, underneath the Warwick Bridge and then towards Lodge Corner, right the way up into 5th gear. I'd imagine he'll be down to 3rd, maybe even 2nd by the time we arrive at Lodge. Down to 4th, down to 3rd. We hold on to 3rd, but the car washes wide just as we get to the sort of compression, which kind of hooks the car in and give you that little bit of mid-corner grip, which you could desperately need. But Finlay's now falling away from Jacob Ellis, and we've seen this as something of a pattern over the previous couple of laps. And they had a really quick start, as we say, but something just clicked, and it lost a little bit of pace. The car still seems to be tracking straight. Still race 2 to go for Finlay. He's still got 3rd in class, bearing in mind, so still a good haul of points. Very quick left of Cascades, big moment for Jacob Ellis, spins the car through 90 degrees, gets the car stopped and gets the car pointing the right way once more, but it just seemed to slowly go more and more, and unfortunately for Jacob Ellis, he couldn't quite get the car back in time. So Jacob Ellis goes from 2nd in class right the way down to 5th now, 10th overall. That shows just how quickly the race can change. Finlay Lines back up into 2nd in class. Callum Williams takes the 3rd step of the provisional podium in the all-comers class, riding on board with Luke Armstrong. Brilliant view. See him still sat in the wheel tracks of Will Johnson. The brakes in towards his lock, bouncing over the curb, locks the curb for Luke Armstrong once more as we go through the left. What about Nick Brook? Plenty of curb there. Yeah, plenty of curb and a little bit more for Luke. The curb on exit, trying not to bounce the car around too much, but again we've seen this over the previous couple of laps from Luke Armstrong. He's more than comfortable sitting in those wheel tracks, just allowing the race to come to him over the next 10 minutes. So at the halfway point in this race, carrying as much momentum as possible over the rides at the exit of Druids. Jonty Restrick now applying pressure onto the recovering Jacob Ellis. That will have at least knocked the rhythm that Jacob had formed over the previous couple of laps. Is Jonty going to go up the inside on the run in towards Druids? They're almost side by side, but filling the mirrors nicely is Jonty. So he can just sit in the wheel tracks once more and try and force that mistake out of him. We spoke to Jonty earlier on and he said that's kind of the idea. Just nice and conservative initially and then try and apply that pressure throughout race 1 and race 2, starting in mid-back. Johnson will be looking to, I think, recover from a bit of an incident on lap 1 as well. Will Johnson still sat there and working with Luke Armstrong. We also had a chat with Will Johnson, and he was hopeful of a good night this evening, hoping to score some big points, but Gabriel North making that job that little bit harder. A little look to the inside as we approach Lakeside and towards a very quick left-hander, as we say, of Island Bend. Trello's hairpin appears once more. Piling the lock on, big correction, however, mid-corner for William Johnson, comes out of the throttle to ensure he doesn't end up over the white line. Fortunately, that momentum which he so dearly requires all starts to fall away. Jonty Restrick, what's he going to do? Inside or outside? Goes to the inside on the brakes in towards the Charles hairpin, places the car there. It's a gap that only starts to thin out, so not on this occasion for Jonty Restrick. Luke Erdos is sat in that rear view mirror, so we'll be looking to reap the rewards of those two battling. In turn, those two battling have now started to close in on Harry Ellis over Hilltop, and it's made somewhat easy for Jacob Ellis by Harry in towards the Hislop chicane, and we've got a bit of a trio forming now. A flash of the lights for Jacob Ellis as they go through Knickerbrook. Back up Clay Hill once more. Jonty Restrick trying to do the same to Harry Ellis, work his way through and past as quickly as possible, minimise any sort of time loss. Going along Water Tower in towards Druids. Big move for Jonty Restrick. Bold on the brakes, position made. Nice and easy for Jonty. He saw the opportunity present itself. So Harry Ellis drops from 9th to 11th. It may even be 12th here because Luca Erdos is looking to the inside on the brakes in towards Lodge Corner. Position made for Luca Erdos as well, as long as he can get that car slowed down. By the time we arrive at the apex, he can indeed. Lights back on. Continue to push forward Will Luca, but that has effectively unleashed those two cars up the road. So Jonty Restrick and Jacob Ellis working together. Harry Ellis looking to the inside of Luca Erdos to try and get that position back, but the door slammed shut. Harry Ellis has got a bit more work to do. As for Gabriel North, extending that lead margin up to 1.5 seconds now, so continuing to pull away at the head of affairs. Gabriel North's more than comfortable, not only in second place overall, but in the lead of the scholarship class with a 7.5 second lead over Luke Armstrong, who still has Will Johnson sat in his wheel track. So we saw Will Johnson lose a bit of time using so much of the circuit and a bit more through the Britain chicane. We saw Will Johnson fall away slightly over the previous couple of laps, but he's closed in once more. A little look to the inside, trying to fill the mirrors once more, bouncing over the curves. And Will Johnson, you can tell by the body language of the car, he's just pushing on so hard. And it's gone from working with Luke Armstrong to now trying to get in his head and fill the mirrors. There's been flashing of the lights, there's been looking to the inside and the outside as we approach braking zone, through Druid, down to 4th gear. The car begs for some sort of mercy as the revs rise, back towards the Warwick Bridge once more, goes for 5th gear, placing the car on the extreme inside is Luke Armstrong, so he's starting to feel the pressure of the swiftly approaching William Armstrong. Which, tidy on that occasion. Jake Critchley works his way through and past Callum Williams. That's up into 3rd in the all-comers class. It's a 7th overall for Jake Critchley. Exactly how that happened, I don't know. They've got a bit of space between them as well, which makes you think Callum Williams has had some sort of mistake on this lap. As we look over to the split times, it was an okay sector 2, albeit having wandered over track limits. By the time he crosses the line, let's have another look to see whether it was a slower final sector. Yes, it was, some 10 seconds off what we can normally expect. So Callum Williams with a mistake through that final sector. Big moment in the background for Jacob Ellis. He's still pushing on, isn't he? He's managed to build a gap between himself and Jonty Restrick. Will Johnson and Luke Armstrong continuing to trade places. Those two swapping around once more. Will Johnson sits in the wheel tracks, but what's happened to Will Johnson? He's really started to fall away. He's gone from 2 tenths to 3.5 tenths. He's off the road as they go through the shallow oils hairpin. And eventually came to a head between Luke Armstrong and Will Johnson. I'm afraid Will Johnson on the receiving end of an off-track excursion, so that allows Riley Bogue to go through not only into 4th overall, but onto the provisional final step of the scholarship podium with less than a quarter of the race remaining now. Will Johnson has got that work to do. He shouldn't have to worry too much about Finley Lines. It's an overall position, yes, but not a class position. But then what's happened to Riley Bogue? He runs wide on the exit of the chicane, which makes you think caught the grass, oversteered, maybe a bit of a bounce over the curb. So Will Johnson finds himself back third place in class, but now with a 5-second margin to try and make up. Callum Williams has got Jacob Ellis for company. Jonty Restrick sat in his real tracks. I think Jacob's desperate to get past Callum Williams, but Callum's quick in all the right places, so it's made his job that little bit harder. Jacob Ellis will want to get up into 4th place in class to bang himself another couple more points for his championship aspirations. It was a late look to the inside, then to the outside, falls back in line once more. So Callum Williams holds on to 8th, Jacob Ellis holds on to 9th, Jonty Restrick sat in the wheel tracks of the both of them in 10th. This is a brilliant battle, and it will completely change the complexion of the championship, I'm sure. Jacob Ellis struggling to find a bit of track to call his own, and Jonty Restrick, ever the optimist, trying to make it work, looks to go all the way around the outside, but it's a big moment for Callum Williams, who makes contact with Jonty Restrick. They both spin around, and unfortunately for, I think, Harry Ellis, he was caught up in that one, trying to join the circuit as quickly as possible is that of Jonty Restrick, but I guess Jacob Ellis finally gets his wish. He nicks through up into 8th place. Luca Erdos picks up 9th place, just about managing to avoid that incident. Harry Ellis recovers to what is 10th place. Callum Williams finds himself in 11th. Sean Duffy picks up a place as Jonty Restrick rejoins in what is 13th place. So a big shuffle round there as we approach the final few minutes of this race. Over the start-finish line, Lucas Chatterton and Scotty O'Connor side by side. In towards that of Old Hall. Lucas Chatterton can't quite make the move, but it's all over the exit curve for Scotty O'Connor, and Scotty manages to make that move nicely. Whether it was a bit too much curb or not, but Scotty up into 14th place, and that's a position in class as well, so you cannot complain for Scotty O'Connor. Charlie Devlin leads the way now by 4 seconds. Gabriel Norse is continuing to extend the lead over Lucas Armstrong, pardon me. Callum Williams loses a place to Sean Duffy, and I think Callum Williams has found himself off the road. Yes, he has. He's picked up a 5-second time penalty for cutting, so that allows Jonty Restrick to go through. And going off the wheel tracks in the grass, I'd imagine too early on the throttle, found himself on the exit of the Britain chicane, heading towards the barrier. And Callum Williams finds himself in 13th place. There is Luca Erdos, just working his way through Druids. Currently sat 5th in class, a healthy margin over Harry Ellis, his next championship protagonist. Within a second of Jacob Ellis, who's been on a bit of a mission back through the order, hasn't he? Charlie Devlin, as we say, leads the way. He's onto his final lap of the race. Towards the shallow oils hairpin goes Charlie. Gabriel Norse, 4.5, best part of 5 seconds adrift. Lucas Armstrong sat there in 3rd place, 2nd in class at the moment. Will Johnson 3rd in the scholarship class and 4th overall. Finley Lines finds himself 6th overall, but still on the provisional 2nd step of the all-comers class with, what, a 10-second lead over Jake Critchley, who's 3rd in all-comers at the moment. But for the final time in towards the Britain chicane comes Charlie Devlin. It's been another dominating performance. It was a good start. Gabriel Norse sat with him for a few laps, but over time, Charlie's just consistent enough to extend that margin and really minimise the mistakes. He does cover some laps in practice as well. And clearly that practice really does pay. In towards Druids for the final time comes your race leader. And for Charlie Devlin, it's been a fairly solid season throughout this year, hasn't it? He's just started to pick up more and more points as the season goes on, but out the final corner for the final time comes Charlie Devlin over the elite, and he will make it another win in the Ginetta eSeries of 2025, not only overall, but of course in the all-comers class. Gabriel Norst further cements his position in the championship lead of the scholarship class. A flash of the lights as he crosses the line. Luke Armstrong will be the next to arrive. So Luke, again, a flash of the lights, will cross the line and finish third overall and round out your overall podium, but finish second in the scholarship class. Will Johnson rounds out your scholarship class podium. Riley Pogue rounds out your top 5. Finley Lines crosses the line to make it a second place in the all-comers class. Jake Critchley over the line now to finish in what is third in the all-comers class. Luca Erdos running to the line, being ushered towards the checkered flag by Jacob Ellis, who will cross the line 9th overall, 8th and 9th, a pair of those two. Harry Ellis will round out your top 10. Sean Duffy over the line in 11th. John T. Restrick next to take the checkered flag will finish in 12th place. Callum Williams towards the line to finish in 13th. Scotty O'Connor will be 14th. It will then be Lucas Chatterton to cross the line in 15th, followed by the number 11 machine of Leon Olagoju, who will round out your 16 finishers. As we have a look to our previous race winners, our first race winner of the year in the all-comers class was Nicky Taylor, but since then, all-comers at Croft was won by Charlie Devlin in race 1. In race 2, it was won by Charlie Devlin. He just continues to win more and more. Charlie, you joined us in the commentary box just as we were saying it. Donington Park didn't necessarily go the way you wanted, but still a huge haul of points. Croft definitely went the way you wanted with 2 wins. And tonight, I mean, starting as you mean to go on, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been, well, good so far. That race was kind of just get the best start you possibly can and then sort of just work away at your lap time, really. But yeah, still enjoyed it.
And we saw Gabriel following you in the early stages, but obviously you're in 2 separate classes. So was it a case of just hitting your marks, keeping it clean and consistent, and letting the timer run down?
Yeah, it was just kind of really counting down the laps, just staying consistent, staying on your marks. I knew Gabriel wasn't going to try and battle, as he's obviously racing for his own points, like I'm racing for my own points. So I knew that inevitably he was just going to sit behind me for the entire race, and we would just work together to pull away from the rest of the field.
And of course, what you're doing is a brilliant advert for the Ginetta eSeries of 2025 and the opportunities that can present. A brilliant advert for your sponsors as well, of course. But for the rest of the season, I mean, we're now at the halfway point. As of now, we've just ticked into the second half of the season. What's the plan for that? Is it just more of the same? Of course, your sort of main championship rivals are away, unfortunately, this evening. So, I mean, capitalise where you can. But as we know, there's no guarantees in motorsport. It will all get rather close towards Brands Hatch.
Yeah, hopefully I can go on the same. I know Nathan's missing out because he's racing in real life. I know Albert's missing out because he's karting this evening for a championship. They've both said to me that I should miss out around just to make the championship interesting. But yeah, we'll go on as it is and we'll see how it turns out in the end.
I'd imagine it will be interesting regardless of what happens. But Charlie, massive well done for race 1 and best of luck for race 2.
Thank you.
Quick word with race 1 all-comers class winner Charlie Devlin. Gabriel Norst also joins us in the commentary box. Gabriel, it was a good start. You sat with Charlie for a little while, and then at that point Charlie just started to extend the gap, but that didn't mean you weren't working hard as well, because you extended the gap not only over those cars behind you, but extended the gap in the championship lead of the scholarship class as well. You're getting closer to the opportunity to kicking off a racing career with Ginetta. What's going through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, in that race at the start I was able to keep up with Charlie, but then a few little mistakes crept in and it just meant that Charlie could walk away from me, and he just had great consistency throughout. And yeah, I mean, the championship, I've got quite a sizable gap, I think, now, so that's looking quite promising.
And the second race tonight, I mean, more of the same, but Zandvoort, it's not really somewhere we tend to go too much. What are your thoughts heading into that?
I'm really excited for Zandvoort. I usually drive it on other sims in different cars, so I enjoy it due to its like massive banking. It's a lot of fun to drive, and it's very different in terms of characteristics compared to a lot of English circuits.
Plenty to look forward to. Massive well done for race one, and hopefully we can speak to you in around about 20 minutes time.
Yep, hopefully. Thank you.
Great to chat to Gabriel Norse. We will go to a very brief break between the races before we're back with you for race two. So back to Oulton Park, this time for race two of the evening. Race number 6 of the Ginetta eSeries of 2025. Charlie Devlin finds himself once again on pole position. Gabriel Norse the same alongside. Gabriel Norse do anything about closing that gap on the run towards turn 1. Lights out. Blast off. The field work their way once again towards Old Hall Corner. It's a good start from Charlie Devlin. This time and doesn't have much of a worry of Gabriel Norse closing in. It all gets very close in the background, however, a bit more contact. A couple of cars run wide, one of which is that of William Johnson. He manages to rejoin the circuit along the avenue, just about, still bouncing his way along the grass. He also loses out to Finley Lines and Jake Critchley. Gerados manages to go through as well. Will Johnson has gone right the way from 4th down into 9th place, or 8th place, after being shuffled around and onto the grass for the first time of asking as we approach turn 1. Top 2 working away. Luke Armstrong effectively bridging the gap between that top 2 and the rest of the field. Contact as we go through Island Bend. Big incidents on the run towards Shallows Hairpin. We've got, 7 cars involved. So Will Johnson involved, I think, as well. He's had a poor start after the incident on the first lap. Leon Olakoju involved, Lucas Chatterton involved, Scotty O'Connor, Callum Williams, Dominic Jones, and I think Sean Duffy found himself involved in that one as well. Jacob Armour at the tail end of the order. So big contact as we went towards Shallows Hairpin, and without a doubt, the safety car has been deployed. The field respond well at the front. Everybody hears the safety car call and will fall in behind Peter Cornelius for the 3rd time this season, as we had that incident on the first lap of the race here at Oulton Park. Drivers weaving around once more, trying to get as much temperature into those tyres as possible. Drivers, again, whilst they have a bit of a choice when it comes to strategy, you do have to take into account fuel load and fuel burn as well. If you're sat right up and behind the car, there's an opportunity at least to save a little bit of fuel. When it comes to running around on your own, whether you meant to do it or not, will burn that little bit more. So drivers being reminded to keep that at the forefront to bear mind. So Charlie Devlin won't mind this too much with his main championship protagonists away from Oulton Park. The next 3 cars behind him, all in the scholarship class, he should be able to get another good haul of points to go towards his championship aspirations. Gabriel Norse was, I guess, this is the last thing he would have wanted, because he had Luke Armstrong now back closed in on him. As for Riley Pogue and Luke Armstrong, this is what they will have wanted. Finley Lines sort of 50-50. He picked up a place on the opening lap of the race, but now Jake Critchley is in there. For those cars involved, they'll be super happy about this, because they can then close in on those cars up there. And a couple of cars running wide behind the safety car. I think that was Dominic Jones. Yes, it was. He's picked up a 5-second time penalty behind the safety car. So pushing on to catch the safety car queue, but pushing the limits whilst doing so, I think Sean Duffy and Jacob Armour got caught up in a little bit of an incident there as well. Luke Reardos, I think, has found himself on the road. Yes, he has. How Luke Reardos found himself there, I'm unsure, but you should imagine he now will remain there behind Lucas Chatterton. Exactly how Luke Reardos found himself on the road, as we say, still yet to be decided behind the safety car. He does now opt to try and get himself back to where he was. Exactly the regulations behind that, I'm unsure, but you should imagine if it was his causing, or not really, you should have to remain where you rejoined the field. So you can see there Peter Cornelius in the Ginetta G55 GT4 safety car, leading the field around. Luke Reardos does manage to find himself back into that position. I guess conversations to be had at the end of this evening between Luca and the series. Finds himself tucked in and now behind that of Jacob Ellis. I think Luca was in fact in front of Jacob Ellis on that occasion. Running wide in the background was Will Johnson as they head towards Clay Hill. Safety car lights are off, so we will be going back racing this time. It's all eyes Charlie Devlin on controlling the pace of the field, weaving around as much as possible, trying to back the field up. A couple of cars getting caught out with locked brakes. He now chooses to go, so Charlie Devlin gets this race back underway. Unfortunately, Jacob Armour and Sean Duffy in an incident. I don't think Jacob Armour was expecting the field to slow down as much as possible. Unfortunately, he couldn't slow down the car as much as he needed into the back of Sean Duffy just as we started to resume this race. But Charlie Devlin gets the race back going. A quarter of the race gone, 3/4 of the race still to go. Luca Reardos immediately tries to capitalise on the race start, jumps through and past Jacob Ellis. There's almost 3 wide in the background as we head in towards Cascades. Johnson Restrick with arguably the best seats in the house here. He's now inadvertently got himself involved in this battle. Harry Ellis watching this all unfold in front of him, trying to figure out exactly where he can place his car to make the most of the battling trio. Johnson having to go slightly defensive, almost a bit of contact as we went through Island Bend. On the brakes in towards the shallow old hairpin, slightly defensive from Johnson Restrick. Bit of a lock up the road from Jacob Ellis. That allows Will Johnson up the inside. On the run towards the British chicane, side by side, maybe isn't the best idea. Absolutely, Jacob Ellis sees that coming, so comes back in behind Will Johnson. Goes to intercept for classes as well, so maybe not too eager to try and fight that. Harry Ellis gets caught out through the British chicane. That now leaves him vulnerable to Scotty O'Connor, who this evening is also racing in that new Cup format, but for the moment it's going to be Finlay Lines that's leading the Cup aspect of this evening after some very strong finishes, or after a very strong finish in race 1. We'll be looking to do the same in race 2. As we say, that exceeds track limits and picks up a 5-second time penalty, so with a minimised race distance, of course, being behind the safety car, that means that he's got less opportunity and less time in hand to try and minimise the damage of that 5-second time penalty. Jake Critchley's got Luca Reardos right up and behind him. He's got Finlay Lines up the road, underneath the Warwick Bridge. A flash of the light from Jake Critchley, a look to the inside to try and fill the mirrors, but takes a tighter line in. That will compromise his exit as he may start to wash out wide. In the background, Will Johnson now goes all the way around the outside of Luca Reardos. Super brave move from Will Johnson. Picks up the place, and that puts him 4th in class now in the scholarship class, up into 7th overall. We'll try and tick off those next 2 cars up the road, both of which are all comers class, and then he's got what, a 3.5 second gap to try and find. Jake Critchley picks up a 5-second time penalty for exceeding the track limits, and we could see Will Johnson work his way through and past Jake Critchley on this occasion. Yes, we do. On the brakes down in towards Cascades, Jacob Armour caught up in another incident, unfortunately. Dominic Jones once again comes to blows with that of Jacob Armour. Also involved, I think, was Callum Williams. The run along Lakeside and towards Island Bend. Jake Critchley will try and close back in on Will Johnson, but immediately Luca Reardos on the attack. He has a late lunge to the inside. There is Jake Critchley, keeping an eye on him just to see exactly what those cars behind him can do. He's got Luca Erdos to worry about. Jonty Restrick trying to work his way through and past Jacob Ellis, but he in turn is closing in on those cars up the road. Gets a brilliant run coming out of the Britain chicane, and will now apply that pressure and that extra momentum into an overtaking opportunity onto Luca Erdos. Does the door open? There's contact, however, in the background. Jacob Ellis into the back of Luca Erdos. Jonty Restrick into the back of Jacob Ellis, and just about manages to work his way around the outside. I think that was slightly defensive from Luca Erdos. Jacob couldn't quite get that car slowed down, and Jonty, ever the optimist, managed to find a bit of track to call his own and worked his way around the outside. Nothing tonight placed for Jonty Restrick. That will be 4th in the all-comers class. So the battle's still raging on, still with over half the race to go as well. Underneath the Warwick Bridge, Jacob Ellis now looks to the outside. He's going to be super brave on the brakes, gets a bit of an overlap, but Jonty Restrick rise to the move. That washes him out wide, however, and will award the inside to Jacob Ellis. He's got a bit more momentum as we head towards Old Hall once more. But jumps back into the wheel tracks of Jonty Restrick. Harry Ellis is watching this all unfold, hoping for something to happen and for it to come to a head that he can pick up a place. Here comes Harry Ellis. A bit of a bump and run, really, for Harry. Pushed Jacob Ellis back onto the coattails of Jonty Restrick, but Jacob didn't account for that extra speed. Has to come out of the throttle mid-corner to try and get that car tucked back into the apex. Another bit of a bump from Harry Ellis to try and benefit Jacob Ellis's approach onto the rear bumper of Jonty Restrick in towards the shallow old hairpin. Once more, Will Johnson manages to work his way through and past Finley Lines, and will now set his attentions on the 4-second gulf that he's got to try and close in onto Riley Bowe. Gabriel North has gone to the front. What's happened at the front here? So Charlie Devlin drops down into 2nd place. It looks like it was just a fair overtake, or is Charlie Devlin struggling slightly? That, or he knows he's safe in the class lead and you score points in the class, not overall. So for Charlie Devlin to lose that spot, it's not going to worry him at all. So maybe it's just a bit of a gift for Gabriel North to see what he can do about extending a lead in the outright race lead. You can see a quick flick of oversteer there to get the car back settled on the run through Druids. It's such a quick corner, which requires full commitment to maximise that momentum. You can see just how quick those approach. Hard on the brakes, the nose dives into the racing surface. Gets the car slowed down for Lodge Corner. Over the Elite they will go, and once again back over the start-finish line. 9 minutes of the race remaining. With the current lap times that are being completed, you should imagine we've got the best part of, what, 4 laps, maybe 5 laps of this race still to go. Plenty to look forward to, and positions still up for grabs. Jake Critchley still dealing with the pressure from Luca Erdos, using all of the circuit available to him on the brakes in towards Old Hall. You can see grass just being kicked up as he tries to keep that minimum speed as high as possible. He doesn't need to defend too hard from Luca Erdos, but I think the key thing here, he wants to keep a car between himself and Jonty Restrick, because Jake Critchley at the moment finds himself on the 3rd step of the all-comers podium, so a good bag of points for Jake Critchley at this stage in the season. For Jonty Restrick, he'll be hoping that Luca Erdos will start to battle him, slow the pair of them down, and then he gets the opportunity to get onto the 2nd step of the podium. In towards Shellall's hairpin, a look to the inside. However, for Luca Erdos, he was late on the brakes. It was a locked straight. He somehow managed to get the car slowed down. I think there was a bit of door-to-door contact, but that's slowed the pair of them down now into Jonty Restrick. So Luca Erdos, I think that's caused more harm than it has good. On the run through the Shellall's hairpin, that was cheeky up the inside for Luca Erdos, up onto the curb, up onto the grass, and now we see Jonty Restrick try and work his way through and past Luca Erdos. As we say, it might have cost Luca more than it's gained him. In towards the Hislop chicane, Jake Critchley tries to go as defensive as possible, but Jonty Restrick, can he get through on Luca Erdos? He gets shuffled wide all over the grass. That then allows Jacob Ellis to close in, who now looks to the inside of Jonty Restrick, side by side through Nicker Brook. Can Jonty hold on to the position? Maybe. Yes, he can, as we go up Clay Hill and then towards Water Tower. But for Jake Critchley, he dealt with that very, very well indeed. Allowed Luca Erdos to go for the move, but knew that he could get on the throttle slightly earlier, hold on to that place. That's now put them back to where they were. But more importantly, it's put Jonty Restrick back into the clutches of both Jacob and Harry Ellis, meaning that he will start to slow himself down by way of a defence. Gabriel Norse continues to lead the way and has set the fastest lap of the race, a 2-minute 1.495, the only driver in this race to break into the 2-minute ones, and has done so by over half a second. So pushing on is Gabriel Norse, albeit the tyres are slowly starting to bleed away. So it means that we won't necessarily see quicker times roll in. Jacob Armour has had some rather exploratory laps over the previous couple of circuits of the Oulton Park GP, so it means that he's starting to rack up the post-race penalties. Luca Erdos currently sat 4th in class, and I guess will want to stay there. 2 of the 3 cars behind him are in the all-comers class, so I think that was probably in eagerness to stay in front of Jonty Restrick why he was so eager to defend the line into the Britain chicane. He's closed back in onto the coattails of Jake Critchley. Exiting the Shallows hairpin, opportunities will present themselves once more as we head towards the Britain chicane, trying to get to the inside, then to the outside. What will Luca Erdos do? We saw him go for a late move. He goes for an even later move this time, all over the grass. That cost him a bit of time. That bounces him over the curb. Jake Critchley again, a very clever head on those shoulders, saw what was happening and decided not to compromise his race. That was cheeky in the background. Jonty Restrick really ushered towards the grass, even through one of the polystyrene boards. That was Jacob Ellis not wanting to allow Jonty Restrick to hold on to that place. So Jake Critchley holds on to 7th place, Luca Erdos in 8th. Harry Ellis now finds himself in 9th place, and Jacob Ellis and Jonty Restrick really starting to push on. Luca Erdos, for what we saw behind the safety car, is under investigation for overtaking under the safety car. He may have found himself off the road and wanted to pick up those positions that he lost, but it is being investigated, and for ignoring an official's instructions. Luca Erdos now goes to the inside of Jake Critchley. He's got the inside line on the running towards Lodge Corner. So late on the brakes, though, locks the brake. That allows Jake Critchley to have another look up the inside, but can't quite make it work. Harry Ellis in the background spins through 180 degrees. Does he manage to keep it out the barrier? Just about. But that will now release Jacob Ellis and Jonty Restrick onto the coattails of Jake Critchley, which is why all of a sudden he wants to try and get back up the inside of Luca Erdos through Old Hall. 5 minutes of the race to go. And still positions to be decided. Harry Ellis still struggling to hold on to those positions which he's most recently lost. Finds himself on the coattails of Scotty O'Connor. Sean Duffy loses out to Callum Williams in the background. Gabriel Norse has pulled a second over Charlie Devlin over the previous lap, so not a bad rate of lappery from Gabriel Norse either. Jonty Restrick, he will be eager to, I guess, give back what he took from Jake Critchley, or from Jacob Ellis, and Jake Critchley will want to stick with Luca Erdos and try and minimise the opportunities provided to those cars behind. Of course, there is still opportunities for the final step on that all-comers class podium to change, because Jacob Ellis is in 4th, Jonty Restrick in 5th, and Jake Critchley somehow keeping his claws firmly in 3rd. 3.5 minutes of the race to go, so heading on to the penultimate lap next time by. There is Jake Critchley bouncing over the curbs as we head through the Britain chicane, but even more so for Jacob Ellis. The car spat itself sideways. Jonty Restrick pushing the limits on the exit of Knickerbrook. Harry Ellis and Scotty O'Connor scrapping away in the background on the brakes in towards the Britain chicane. Harry Ellis has to hold station 4 now. Lucas Chatterton appeared in the background, I think that was. Or was that Jacob Armour with his lights ablaze? It was Jacob Armour, who's had a rather interesting race from his perspective. But Harry Ellis, he knows he's got the pace to get there, but it's now just finding the key to the lock, I think, and undoing the door, but so wide through Druid, slightly nibbling at the grass for Scotty O'Connor. That will compromise his exit, as he will have had to come out the throttle, maybe a dab of the brakes just to get the car turned back in again, but Harry Ellis goes to the inside. Later on the brakes in towards Lodge Corner. It's a locked brake from Scotty O'Connor to potentially try and go back around the outside. They're still side by side. Scotty gets a good run as they head towards Dealey. And holds on to the place. Fair play, Scotty O'Connor managed to hold on to that position, hold on to 13th overall, and what will be 6th in the scholarship class, so he is fighting over points, but more importantly, Jacob Armour closing in the background. And he will start to apply the pressure onto those cars up the road. What of Jonty Restrick? What of Jacob Ellis? Picks up a 5-second time penalty and finds himself a long way adrift of his sparring partners. 5 seconds away from Jonty Restrick and Jake Critchley, who spoke to Jonty earlier on, and he was hoping for a good night. At the moment, he's only a position away from working his way onto the all-comers class podium. 9th overall for Jonty at present, but still sat on the coattails of Jake Critchley. He's got a lap and a half to try and make this move now. The tyres will be screaming out for a break, but they've just got to last one further lap. Jonty goes to the inside, Jake Critchley, pardon me, goes to the inside, goes defensive. Jonty looks to the outside, back to the inside, but a good exit. Jake Critchley, you can see he might have only been on the throttle that little bit earlier, but it immediately started to reward him. Jonty fighting away at the controls to keep the car pointing the right way as it rumbles over the inside and the outside curve at Knickerbrook. Gabriel Norse remains a second clear of Charlie Devlin. Charlie Devlin goes through and posts his personal fastest lap of the race at 2-minute 1.881. There's been contact in the background, however. Harry Ellis and Scotty O'Connor, we saw a good battle between the pair of them. I think Harry Ellis here, is he self-penalising? Potentially so. Fair play, Harry Ellis. Yes, he is self-penalising. Realised he's the one that made the mistake and allowed Scotty O'Connor to go through and take that position back. So, again, a very wise head on young shoulders for Harry Ellis. But Gabriel Norse, his final lap of Oulton Park is upon him. Through Island Bend, you can see the rear of the car just about remaining in check with the front through Shell Oils for the final time. And Gabriel Norse not only on for a scholarship class win, but an overall class win as well. And it begs the question, did Charlie have that conversation and go, listen, my championship rivals are away tonight, go through, take that glory, because he's doing so well in the championship as Gabriel Norse and deserves that overall win that he's been wanting all season long. Charlie Devlin picks up a 5-second time penalty for exceeding track limits, albeit he is 7.5 seconds clear of Luke Armstrong, so it's not going to concern him too much. Jake Critchley and Jonty Restrick swapping around on the final lap of the race. Jonty Restrick doesn't only go to 8th place, but goes to 3rd in the all-comers class. Jake Critchley looks to the inside towards the Britain chicane, remains where he is for now, but Jonty Restrick, what a brilliant time to try and make that move up into 3rd place in the all-comers class, as we say, and will pick up even more points in his championship fight. Where does Jonty find himself in the championship coming into this evening? We'll double check for you any moment now, but for Gabriel Norse, he's heading into the final couple of corners. Jonty Restrick runs through the Hislop chicane, has to straight line it. Couldn't get the car slowed down. Jonty Restrick came into this evening tied on points for 5th place with Jacob Ellis both on 80, but Gabriel Norse will extend his scholarship class lead and finds himself on the top step of the podium, not only in class but overall as well. Charlie Devlin picks up another all-comers class win, 2nd overall. Luke Armstrong finishes 2nd in the scholarship class and finishes 3rd overall. It will be Riley Pogue that rounds out your scholarship podium and finishes 4th overall. Will Johnson 5th overall, 4th in the scholarship class. Finley Lyons has crossed the line to finish in what is 2nd in the all-comers class to round out your top 6. Luca Erdos rounds out your scholarship top 5 and the top 7 overall. Jonty Restrick will be the next to arrive, having got the position on the very final lap of the race. Rounds out your all-comers podium. Jake Critchley over the line to finish 9th overall. Jacob Ellis over the line to finish in 10th. Callum Williams goes through in 11th place, punted to the line by Sean Duffy. The next driver to arrive should be Jacob Armour, albeit question marks over his exact finishing position. And come the end of the evening, Lucas Chatterton will finish in 14th place. Scotty O'Connor, after the incident with Harry Ellis, will finish 15th. Harry Ellis will come through to finish in 16th place, but Scotty O'Connor got away with that one, and I think to the delight of his and to the respect of Harry Ellis, allowed him to retake that place. Out of Lodge Corner for the final time comes Harry Ellis. Leon Olakoju will be the one to arrive in the background. We've already seen Dominic Jones through and over the line. Gabriel Norse joins us in the commentary box. I mean, Gabriel, not only is that another win in class, what that is a win overall. Whether conversations were had or not, you still finished the race with the fastest lap of the race. That's got to be a huge motivator, not only to extend your championship lead, but going into the final 2 rounds.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of motivation for the championship. I mean, the fastest lap was a pretty good lap in my opinion. I mean, I managed to get a 1.4, which was a lot faster than I could in practice. And yeah, getting the overall win is definitely a huge motivating factor for the championship, as it means I can battle with all of the all-comers.
Do you think the fastest lap came from the pressure behind, being hunted down by Charlie Devlin?
Yeah, it could have. I definitely was braking a little bit later when he was behind me, but yeah, it's pretty good.
And with obviously Zandvoort on the way, you said it's a circuit that you like in other sims, and it's one that you're comfortable with. What can we expect from you there? More class wins, and maybe even getting your hands on the championship trophy and the Ginetta Junior Scholarship of 2025 a week early?
Yeah, that's what I'm aiming for, and hopefully I can do it.
Good stuff. Well, a massive congrats for tonight, Gabriel. Obviously extending that championship lead. Before we let you go, anybody you'd like to quickly shout out?
Probably Sim Demon and my parents.
Great stuff. Always good to chat, Gabriel. We'll speak to you next week at Zandvoort.
Yep, thank you.
Charlie Devlin joins us in the commentary box once more. Again, Charlie with Albert away, with Nathan away, a huge championship lead. The championship's in sight as we head over the channel to Zandvoort.
Yeah, enjoyed that race again. It was sort of the same thing really. Gabriel went past, and then I got a track limits penalty, which was a bit dodgy in my opinion. I sort of went wide and braked and lost a second and a half on the exit, but I still got the warning, which, you know, it is what it is. I still won at the end of the day. Congrats for Gabriel for getting the overall win in the fastest lap. That's really good for him.
And your thoughts on Zandvoort? It's a tricky technical circuit. There's lots of not only undulation but banking as well, both positive and negative camber to deal with. What are your thoughts?
I'm hoping to be okay around there. I've done a lot of laps on games like F1, as I used to be an esport driver on that game. But obviously that's a completely sort of different ball game with high aero, sort of high speed corners. In this, it's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. You've got little to no grip, little to no aero, and it's you're holding on for dear life, really. So it could be exciting.
Plenty to look forward to, that's for sure. A massive congrats for this evening once again, Charlie. We'll see you next week, but before we let you go, anybody you want to say thank you to?
Future class, aunts and uncles that are watching, parents downstairs, and I know Elliot and Nathan Williams are watching at Snetterton as well. So good luck for Nathan for tomorrow.
Great stuff, Charlie. We'll see you in a week.
Thank you.
So that's our top two from this evening, not only overall but in their respective classes as well. In terms of how the championship looks leaving Oulton Park and heading in towards Zandvoort next week, Gabriel Norse with a commanding lead in the scholarship class on 218 points ahead of Luke Armstrong on 160. He's got to keep an eye on his rearview mirror though. Riley Pogue on 153 in third, William Johnson on 152 in fourth, Luca Erdos with an outside chance of holding on to fifth place, but maybe even up into fourth. As for the all-comers class, Charlie Devlin on 197 points. Finley Lyons mathematically can still get there on 121, who manages to jump into second place ahead of Albert Henriksen Bell, who's on 118, who is just ahead of John T. Restrick on 106, Nathan Williams on 105, Jacob Ellis on 100, Jake Critchley on 96. We can go all the way down the order. It shows just how close it is. As for the overall championships themselves, they may be settled next week, but it's everybody else thereafter and where they will fall into the order. Obviously, this evening, for the first time this year, we saw the Cup format in place. We will also see it at the final round of the year at Brands Hatch. So you can sign up as usual, whether that to be the scholarship class or the all-comers class. You can sign up to the new Cup format in doing that. So you still score points in your class, but what you do get is the opportunity to score points in the Cup as well. So we'd love to have you. If you're not on the grid currently, please do get in contact. If you are on the grid, have a look. We'd love to get more drivers fighting over this evening. Going off some quick maths, it will be Finley Lyons that won the Cup this evening. Let's see who can do it at Brands Hatch. Speaking of Brands Hatch, that's a couple of weeks away. As we say, we go to Zandvoort next week. And there are opportunities not only for drivers at Zandvoort, there are opportunities for you at home. If you are a business, if you are a team, if you are an individual that wants to grow your following, your sort of interaction with sim racing fans and people at home watching along, please do get in touch, because your logo will rotate up in the top right corner, not only throughout the stream, but sort of qualifying, race sessions, replays, and whether you watch it back tomorrow or in 2 years' time, your logo will still be there. So please do get in touch. It is sort of a simple, affordable way to support the series, but also putting your brand in front of a passionate and growing sim racing audience. £40 for the final 2 rounds. You really cannot complain. If value to you is that brand awareness, please do get in contact. But from us all here at PASR this evening, it's been myself, Jack Worrell, that's run you through all of the action here at Oulton Park. Tom O'Farrell again, somehow keeping up with all of the action on circuit at 2F Media Productions. Our series organiser, Mick Sutton, and unfortunately we did have to see him, Peter Cornelius, our race safety car driver this evening. We saw him out on circuit just the once, which is always good to see. But in the meantime, we'll see you in a week's time at Zandvoort. But from us all here at PASR, we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
What?